The night dragged on like a never-ending shadow. None of us could return to bed. Ada kept pacing, screaming, cursing. Connor stood like a rock, silent, watching her with eyes that scared me more than any weapon. By 2:15 a.m., the argument had turned into a full standoff. Ada refused to touch the small box of clothes Connor had thrown out. She kept shouting, "This is my house too. If I die here, then let me die. You will not chase me away like a dog." Some neighbors begged Connor to calm down. Others begged Ada to lower her voice. But neither listened. Then, suddenly, Ada rushed back into the room. At first we thought she had finally decided to pack her things. But when she came out again, she was holding a knife from the kitchen. The crowd gasped and scattered a little, leaving a space between her and Connor. The moonlight flashed on the blade. Ada raised it high. Her face was not that of a crying woman anymore, it was something darker. "You think you can disgrace me, Connor? You think you can push me out at midnight? If I don't end you first, then I am not Ada," she shouted. The compound exploded with noise. People screamed, some shouted for her to drop it, children cried louder. I froze where I stood. My legs turned to stone. But Connor didn't move. He looked straight at her and said, "Come but firm, Ada, if this is how you want it to end, then do it. But remember, you are the mother of my children. Their blood flows in you. If you strike me, you strike them too." For a brief moment, silence fell. Ada's hand trembled. Her eyes darted around, maybe realizing the crowd was watching, maybe realizing she had gone too far. But her pride would not let her drop the knife. Then she lunged forward. Several men jumped in at the same time. They grabbed her arm before the blade could reach Connor. The struggle was fierce, Ada kicking, screaming, trying to free herself. The knife clattered to the ground, and one of the men quickly kicked it away. The neighbors dragged her back, holding her tightly as she spat insults and curses. Connor stood still, breathing hard but never lifting a hand against her. His silence was louder than all her shouting. At that point, the decision was made. Bobberte and Mama Funk insisted that Ada could not remain in the house that night. "This is no longer quarrel," Bobberte said. "This is danger. If we leave both of you inside, we will wake up to death by morning." Reluctantly, the men forced Ada to sit down while a few women called her family. Around 3 a.m., 2 of her brothers arrived. They were embarrassed and angry. They apologized to Connor, begged the neighbors, and finally dragged Ada away from the compound, still screaming threats at the top of her voice. The compound grew quiet again, but no one could sleep. Some people stayed outside until dawn, whispering about what they had just witnessed. I went back to my room, but my mind could not rest. I kept hearing Ada's voice, her curses, her laugh, her scream when the knife was taken from her. I also kept seeing Connor's face, so full of pain, but also relief. Relief that the storm had finally broken. By morning, the story had spread like wildfire across the street. Some people blamed Connor, saying a real man should never let things reach that level. Others blamed Ada, saying no woman should disgrace her husband so openly. But everyone agreed on one thing: what happened that night was a warning. A marriage without respect is like fire hidden in dry grass. It will burn everything when it finally explodes. Later that day, I saw Connor sitting quietly outside his workshop. His children played near him, too young to understand the storm that had just shaken their home. I wanted to say something, comfort, advice, anything, but no words came. What could I tell a man who had just faced death from the woman he once loved? Ada never returned to that house. Her family took her away, and Connor raised the children alone. People said Ada later tried to reconcile, but Connor refused. He told her family, "It is better to be alone than to live with someone who wants to bury me before my time." Years have passed since that night, but I still remember it like yesterday. I remember the scream that woke me. I remember the knife glinting in the moonlight. I remember the way the compound froze when Ada spat those deadly words. And sometimes, when I lie awake at night, I ask myself a question that will never leave me. What if the men had not jumped in that moment? What if the knife had landed? Maybe we would not be telling this story. Maybe we would be remembering Connor as the man killed by his own wife, while the children cried into the night. That thought chills me every single time. Because sometimes the scariest stories are not about ghosts or spirits. Sometimes, the scariest story is when love rots into hatred right in front of your eyes. And I saw it with my own eyes that night in Connor's compound. And that brings us to the end of today's story From Love to Danger. I hope you picked up some valuable lessons along the way. Stay connected with us here at JAJASON'S Story Grove for more intriguing stories. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and be sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thank you for watching.